Thank you so much. Good morning. I hope everyone's doing good today so far. Okay. Before I do go into my presentation, I was going to introduce myself, but I was already introduced. So I do have experience in the pharmaceutical industry for past 6 years, but GLAD has been a part of pharmaceuticals since 1954 with Warner Glad's entrepreneurship transforming a small craftsman's business into a pioneering company where he started off supplying just stovepipes to going into ventilation, dust removal systems, and so far. And within 1959, he had developed the very first fluidized bed dryer, which has now become associated with GLAD's name. And over the years, GLAD has grown into a global leader with expertise from pharmaceutical formulation to process, operating from our CDMO sites in New Jersey, Ramsey, as well as Binz in Germany. We are under the third generation of GLAD family, and we continue to support our clients with from equipment and plant design all the way to formulation, innovative strategies. So inspired with Warner Glad's vision, I'm here going to be presenting possible potential alternative approach in solidifying, self-emulsifying drug delivery systems. From here onwards, I'm going to be abbreviating it as SEDS so that my talk would be faster. And then now going into the presentation, there are 3 goals that I would like all of us to achieve from my presentation. One is the importance of solidifying our SEDS. Like why are we looking at solidification of SEDS? Next is, we know we have current solidification methods, but we do know there are certain drawbacks and limitations in those methods. So can fluid bed be a potential alternative approach to solidifying these SEDS? Then we've been talking about scale-up. So that again comes into question, is can we scale up this process to go into commercial production, right? So these are the 3 goals that we would be looking at coming towards my presentation. So SEDS, right? What are SEDS? And we know for the past many decades, we've been talking about increasing solubilization and having different techniques and approaches from crystallization to complexation to salt formation. And recently, we've been talking a lot about ASDs and SEDS. So SEDS is nothing but an isotropic and thermodynamically stable mixture of drug in oil surfactants, co-surfactants, or co-solvents, which when you mix it mildly into water, they self-emulsify. They also are categorized due to the droplet size. So you have the self-microemulsifying systems, which are 100 to 300 nanometers. Then you have the self-nanoemulsifying systems, which are less than 100 nanometers, right? So why SEDS, right? Because again, it increases solubilization, and that is because of the fine droplets and their interfacial surface area increment that increases the solubilization. But they also create a lipophilic ambience, which increases the absorption of the drug through the intestinal absorptive sites, thereby passing the first pass mechanism, right? So that we are increasing the bioavailability too. Then they also have consistent and predictable absorption time profile, which we can see, which is reliable. Then coming to our targeting of drugs. So I do have my own paper published where we talk about, how we can target these cells to a specific site to treat a specific to treat a specific Escherichia coli in the intestine itself. Now, coming to the it also prevents the precipitation and recrystallization of the drug substance. So we know that there are marketed drugs currently, which are basically the process follows is that they take the liquid SEDS and then they fill it into either soft or hard gelatin capsules. But again, we come through limitations. So we have interaction of these sets with the capsule shells. We have leaking or leaching that takes place during manufacturing of these capsule cells. Then we have storage temperature issues where, sometimes your sets can either become gel formed, or they can either the drug is precipitating out because of the storage temperature. So these kind of situations which make the production cost higher and also manufacturing harder. This is why we talk about solidifying sets, correct? So we know that there are current methods right now in solidification of sets, which are like solid dispersions through melt granulation and high shear granulation. Then we have the beads, which are formed through solvent evaporation. We have the pellets, which are through hot melt extrusion, spirionization, freeze drying, and spray drying. Again, we come to the drawbacks, right, where we know that these are crucial drawbacks, which is downstream processing. We have physicochemical challenges which we face, and then we have time-consuming and non-economic processes, and also sometimes we end up having low dose content in our sets, and the stickiness of the pellets, right? So let me just go through it once. So we have the liquid and semi-solid capsules, correct? We have the solidification methods, but we do know both of them have limitations. So this is where we come and we say we might have a potential approach to this, which is to use a fluidized bed, which is a one-step unit, a one-step process, which you can get granules where you don't have to downstream further, just blend, capsulate, or blend, tabulate, right? So let's go, yes, how do I know this process actually works, right? We do have papers. There are research papers that are talking about mini-GLAD, how they are spraying the sets emulsified in water onto beads or inert pearls, and they have concluded that the fluidized bed process actually preserves redispersibility of the sets, which is very important because you want the nanosuspension to be in the GIT tract, right? So then they have also concluded that the solid state of the drug is maintained, it's preserved. You have the particle size and the distribution that is preserved. Again, comes to the fact of how they're processing this. So you're taking a pellet and you're coating the solution over a pellet. A pellet is nothing but a multi-particulate drug delivery system. So this is where a multi-particulate drug delivery system comes into play. So when we're talking about a multi-particulate drug delivery system, we're talking basically about discrete units containing API. We're talking about API that can be coated over discrete units, which is nothing but pellets. Now, the advantages of these pellets are that they reduce the food effect. They have reduced even the dose dumping. You also have an ability to have any kind of controlled release or any kind of release in that particular treatment regime. You can also have a dose that can contain multi-dose formulation in one capsule, correct? And this is where the advantages come in having a multi-particulate drug delivery system. This also helps in compliance. Now, we all want our end product to be patient compliant. So again, multi-particulate drug delivery system kind of helps you to gain that. Now, when we're talking about multi-particulate drug delivery system and you're talking about fluid bed, how do those two connect? Now, because of a fluid bed, we have processes that we can perform very uniform drug layering or functional coating of these pellets. We also have a proprietary system, which is called the CPS technology, where we have our own pellets being directly pelletized, and the CPS also known as complex perfect spheres. So let me first talk about drug layering and functional coating of the pellets. So when we talk about drug layering, this is a fluid bed. It's called a Rooster fluid bed coater. In this, it's also known as a bottom spray coating, where we load the pellets in, and as you can see, the spray nozzle is at the the bottom. So the spray nozzle, if you can notice, it's at the bottom of the chamber. So and the airflow is also from the bottom. If you can see the airflow indication, it's at the bottom. So when you have such a fluid bed, you tend to have drug layering on an inert coat, which is very uniform. So if you can see, you can have multiple, you will have multiple layering on, if you can see the image on your right, you can have multiple uniform layered pellet that can showcase the fluid bed. You can have different kind of coating. So you can have your controlled release coating. You can have a moisture coating to make sure that your drug is protected. You can have taste masking. And you can even have color coating just because you want to identify different pellets from different from your encapsulation. We have the capability to do aqueous and organic solvents in the fluid bed. You can even do mini-tab coating. There is, if you can see this image right here at the bottom, with this fluid bed, you can even coat mini-tabs. So let me have a small demonstration for you to have a better understanding of how and what it looks like when you're actually using a fluid bed rooster for doing a drug layering coating. So as you can see, the pellets have been loaded into the fluid bed, and the circular motion of how the pellets are fluidized is a very important part of our fluid bed, because that's how when you start spraying, that's how you end up getting your uniform coating on your pellets. So as you can see, this is just in color indication coating, where you can see how the color tends to develop over the pellet. And that is how you will be applying the same thing for drug layering. So it's the same process. It's a one unit. If you need to do multi-layering, it's just that you use the same system and have different solutions, and then you coat it simultaneously, like one after the other, but it's a continuous process. So, and it's an easy to discharge process too. So let me go with a case study over here. So we had a client who had a pediatric medication regime, where they used to take adult drugs, adult dosage tablets, crush it in a motor pestle, and then encapsulate it in the capsules for the dose that is required for the pediatric patients, and then administer it. Here, the issue here comes is that this API is supposed to be bitter. So you have a bitter API, and you're crushing that bitter API tablet. So you're technically having difficulty in swallowing over here for pediatric patients. You're also having a poor content uniformity over here, because you're crushing a tablet and then encapsulating it. So your content uniformity, there is poor content uniformity. Then it's also difficult for parent to administer such a drug. So what we did with the client was we tried to formulate, work with them and formulate the entire product in such a way that we first loaded the MCC capsules. I'm sorry, you can't see the color of the beads, but okay. So we first loaded the MCC starter beads, and then we went with the step one. So that's a rooster coater right there. And we started with the drug layering. And then we moved forward for a seal coat. And then moving forward, we did a taste masking. So you have one unit, like I said, you have one unit, and you're just changing the solution from a drug layering to seal coat to taste masking. And that's how you normally get a uniform pellet with multi-layered. Now this was then encapsulated as per the dose that is actually required for the pediatric treatment. So when we talk about such a case, we also want to know that whether our product met the specification. So as you can see, the dissolution was met according to European pharmacopoeia, and also if you can see the content uniformity, we had a good content uniformity in regards to what our handmade capsules look like. So moving forward to the advantages. So these are basically the advantages. Like I've said, like having taste masking done for a bitter API. You have flexible dosing. You can have various drug release profiles present in one product. The manufacturing is simple. You have established standard technologies. The commercial value becomes increasing, and the production is good. So moving forward to this, let's talk about the CPS technology, right? So CPS, like I said, is our proprietary technology where we talk about complex perfect spheres. It is an advanced fluid bed rotor technology which results in the results in matrix type pellets with direct pelletization. So here what we do is that we don't really need beads, we don't need anything. You just need a starter material, which is basically initially MCC. And then you can either go with pre-wetting the MCC or just use the MCC and have your solution, your drug solution, as the pelletizing solution itself. So here, what happens is that because of a rotor, it tends to pelletize the entire drug into the matrix system of the pellet. So like I said, so you can have your powder, normally we use MCC, so you have your MCC and then you have your binding liquid, which can be either your drug solution or you can pre-wet it and just use water as your binding solution. And in that process of rotor, we get liquid bridges, which become solid bridges and then form a perfect pellet. So like I said, you have pre-wetting step, which you can use a granulator for it, and then the pelletization takes place in the fluid bed. So let me show you like a microscopic imagery of how the process of CPS actually takes place. So if you can see, we start with a very small particle size of MCC. As we are pelletizing it, as we are introducing liquid and MCC to it, it tends and grows into the spheres that we are looking for. And the size can be maintained as per the size that you require for the pellets to be. So again, coming to a case study. This is a case study where we wanted to see if you can incorporate high dose into the CPS and also compare between extrusion and spheronization against the CPS process. And so here you can see that when we use the CPS process, we get a perfect sphere. And with the extrusion, there you can see some porosity over here. So you can see there is a little slight advantage of when you use a CPS process. And this is where we can think about SEDS, right? SEDS is the whole point of SEDS is having the immediate instant emulsification in water. So using SEDS and using this process, you can incorporate SEDS directly into the pellets and actually solidify it that way. Moving forward, there's an example of our MCC spheres, which we say Celis 500 against, again, the sugar spheres that you can see here. Now, the advantage of CPS is that because of its spherical shape, the coating that you want afterwards, like let it be, say you want to coat it with a polymer that can save the moisture resistance. So your coating becomes more even on a sphere, on a CPS spheres like this. So, and another advantage is that you just need a different two bowls. You need a CPS rotor bowl, and then you need a rooster. So once you're done with CPS, in the same unit of your fluid bed, you can change it into rooster and load your spheres again for coating. Again, it's a continuous process with limited downstream processing. Now, we have talked about the preparation techniques. But as pharmaceutical scientists, we need a final product. So what do we do after having such pellets created, right? So we have many possible final products over here, where we can go into oral suspensions, you have sausage or stick packs or OD, or have tablets formed out of these, or just direct encapsulation. So we're going to mainly talk about the MUPS. Okay, MUPS is a tabletation of these pellets. So it's basically called as multi-unit pellet system, nothing but a compression of multi-particulates. The main characteristics that you have to look out in MUPS is basically target content uniformity, dissolution profile, and the pellets retain their structure or not. So again, coming to the case study here, I'm going to go quickly because again, we had various drug layering and coatings that were done through the rooster, and we had prepared the pellets, which we wanted a target range of particle size of around 500, or between less than 800, but between 400 and 500, and we were able to achieve that. And then compressing it, right? And if you can see here the images, these are the SEM images. We can see that the pellets retain their structure, but the most importantly, even the drug release met that of the pellets. So that was very important as FDA looks at this F2 similarity over here. So moving forward, so this is what multi-unit pellet system would be, what characteristics you need to look for when you're having manufacturing or compressing such tablets. And then I'll move forward because there's time limit here. So I'm going to now talk about the work that we have done at GLAT here in solidification of cells. So we did our literature work, right? So we made sure that we saw as many papers as possible to see what has been done, what can be improved over here, and is it scalable? So with this, we did notice that a lot of papers have showed how uniform coating can be done of drug suspensions, the sets containing the drug. And they also mentioned about how redispersibility and the particle size, everything was resolved when they had redispersed it into solutions. So again, this is another paper using different kind of pellets, trying to show their coating, using a rooster coating for sets. So we planned to do a proof of concept here. So our proof of concept first was to understand what kind of formulation we were looking for when we were talking about sets. So we did few, like always, for the ternary graph, you have to do a certain pre-formulation work, right? So we went through certain surfactants, all co-surfactants, saw the ratios, and we were able to find a sets formulation that gave us the particle size that we were looking for. So we looked at around 100 nanometers, and we got around 107, 106 nanometers, and we went ahead and incorporated a drug into it. When we incorporated a drug, we did see an increase of the particle size, which was known for us anyways. So we were still within the range that we were looking for, so we went ahead and did our first batch of proof of concept. So as you can see, this is a composition that we went with, and when we sprayed this composition, we sprayed it through top spray granulation. Again, I know completely different process from what we were talking about just before with Rooster and CPS. But top spray is one of the most common processes that we use in our fluid bed, and why not? Like, this is an additional process that we can use for solidifying sets. So top spray's granulation is nothing but where you apply you have the powder suspended in the fluid bed, and you spray the binder onto the particles, and to form bridges, and with the heat and the drying, it will form solid bridges and produce your raspberry shaped structure like granules. So Again, the main advantage over here is like it's a one-step process, right? So you have your granulating, drying, cooling all done in one unit. So here we get to see that the characteristics of these granules prepared have low density, higher porosity, which is good for dissolution and compression effects. And this also helps. The porosity basically aids in higher drying, rapid drying of the granules when you want to go do the drying after the granulation step. So a quick video about how the top spray goes is actually done in a fluid bed. So again, you load so here's the difference you would see. You would see is that the nozzle is not at the bottom, but it's going to be on the side at the top. So if you can see over here, your nozzle's on the top and not at the bottom anymore. So this is the difference where you will see is that here you will find granules and not a pellet having coating done over it. So this is how basically the granules grow and form their bridging, and how this granule basically, because of this process, you get higher porosity and lower density granules. So I'm going to move forward, and I'm now going to show you. So this is what we did over here. So if we had a SEDS, it was around 1 kilo of SEDS over here. And then we took our MCC and we sprayed the SEDS onto the MCC. And if you can see, I know the drug load is pretty low over here. This is, again, a very proof of concept batch. And if you can see, we were able to see the blue tinted suspension when we try to redisperse it. Again, we do need to do the nanoparticle sizing to confirm that the nanoparticle size that we saw initially, we were able to see in this dispersed solution. Then we also wanted to see, can we do a higher drug load? And we did the same thing. We did the same thing, and we did achieve a higher drug load over here. So you can see we went from 0.2% to 4% drug load over here. So again, the same kind of granules, you can see very free-flowing granules. And we were able to achieve that blue tinted suspension when we redisperse the powder. Now, what is our future work plan looking like? So our future work plan is to, again, develop many SEDS formulation with having more drug load, using various excipients to figure out which excipients actually helps us in getting better processes, do more analytical studies, work with different starting materials, do CPS and work with Rooster, because Rooster is a system process that we are known for. So, to see what more advances that we can do with SEDS in particular, are some future work plan that we have looked into and we are working towards right now. And again, coming to MOPS, where we would want to compress these SEDS coated pellets and see the dissolution, and especially see the dissolution comparison between all our formulations. And then go into scale-up batches, right? Because we have been able to prove that we can make bigger solutions of SEDS, so we want to look into going into commercial batches. So again, quick summary, we knew, like I said, the 3 main goals. We saw why it is important to solidify SEDS. We have gone through the processes that can be a potential alternative approach to solidification of SEDS than what we are using currently. Again, coming to fluid bed coating, it's a one-step process. Granules with good characteristics, you have uniform coating, you can achieve various drug profiles or drug release profiles over here, and easy downstream processes. And the proof of concept has been successful so far, so we are excited for next steps over here. Questions?
Thank you, Tasneem. Time for a quick question before our next speaker, if there's any from the group. No? Okay. Well, obviously, stop by the GLAT booth, obviously booth number 1, just inside on the left. Sean, Steve, and Brian are about to, in addition, obviously, to Tasneem, to connect with further on that. So thank you very much again, Tasneem.